Hello there. What is going on, everyone? Today we are talking about Starcraft, the tabletop miniatures game coming from Archon Studios, and they have been dropping some information, some really cool news for this game, some very juicy leaks, and we're going to talk about this. Also, great information if you are looking to get your hands on this game and check it out firsthand. We're going to have some information on how you can do that. And of course, we will be continuing to cover this and all of the late breaking developments and showcasing more of this game as it gets closer to a reality, which is a very exciting time. It feels like it's getting closer and closer every day, which is kind of a silly thing to say because, yes, everything is getting closer and closer every day, except the past, which gets farther and farther away. That's a little too philosophical for this channel. So let's just keep charging in towards all of this stuff. Little admin stuff. If you guys are new here to the channel, I talk a lot about tabletop games, miniatures games, science fiction games, Star Wars, Star Trek, Starcraft, and everything in between. So I'd love to have you guys stick around. We're currently doing a $25 Amazon gift card giveaway. All you have to do to enter to win that is to be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my other videos. Let me know what you are looking forward to in the world of tabletop gaming, whether it's from the Starcraft miniatures game or one of your favorite games. Also, we're going to be doing the 12 Days of Life Day all throughout the month of December, where we're going to be doing 12 random giveaways that happen during that month. And again, same thing, you just have to be a subscriber and leave a comment. So if you're already subscribed, you're already halfway there. If not, hit that button, like the video, check the links in the description below, all that other great stuff. And I'll put a link where you can check out and get the latest news for the StarCraft miniatures game, which is starcraft-tmg.com. You can sign up for the newsletter and get some of the latest information there, plus follow Archon and Starcraft on all their social media stuff. That's what I do, but you don't have to do that if you don't want to, because I'll be bringing it to you, but you probably want to do all those other things too. With all that being said, let's start off with maybe the biggest and most exciting preview, which was some fully painted miniatures with a beautiful diorama. The Swarm has arrived. Okay, so if you are new here to the channel, you might not have seen, but we did an interview with Archon about a month or two ago, and I'll have a link to that at the end of the video, so you can check that out as well. But we do know that it, like the kind of the intro, like the tutorial for this game, or like that, the first part of this is going to be Terrans versus Zerg, and with Protoss have already been teased a little bit, but I expect more from the Protoss coming afterwards. But Terrans and Zerg first, and then Protoss a little bit after. But we got some really cool looks at the Zerg here. Now, this is a beautiful diorama, show multi-level. It's a really great way to showcase stuff. Plus, Archon makes a lot of terrain already. They have brilliant miniature manufacturing capability, and so they do all of their stuff in-house. It's very cool stuff. They've got fantastic methods and beautiful terrain, and they have what looks to be really cool looking miniatures, and we get a look at a lot of Zerglings and Hydralisks. We're going to zoom in. I want to talk about some of this stuff because I think there's different things to break down from this image that I want to talk about in a little bit more detail. So for one, we also do see some Space Marines here. Now, it looks like we're getting some Hydralisk stuff and some Space Marines that are kind of just built into the diorama here. They're not actually on bases, right? It looks like this guy has a Space Marine in his claws, and there's a couple of Space Marines throughout this image. And this was posted by their through the Starcraft social media channels. And so you can check it out there if you want. But this is pretty cool seeing like the size comparison. The Hydralisks look like they're going to be significantly larger than Space Marines, and definitely a lot larger than Zerglings, which is pretty cool. So this is just part of the diorama. Again, great promotional stuff. I love it. Let's talk about the Zerglings. Zerglings are probably going to be one of the smallest models. These look like they're probably like 25 to 28 millimeter bases. They look like they're a little bit on the smaller side. Maybe smaller than 25. I'm not 100% sure, but they're smaller. It looks like we get multiple different poses for Zerglings as well. It looks like they're going to be doing a couple of different like pose sculpts, which is kind of cool. We've got some kind of head down, like subtle variations. Like these top two look like they're the same sculpt, but then the other two look like they're entirely different sculpts altogether. And if you look, again, if you look at the whole image, you're going to see multiple different Zergling poses. So I think that that's a cool thing. They're adding a lot of variety and a little bit of flavor to your swarms, so your armies won't all look, dress 100% perfectly uniform. Which sometimes you want that, but in the case of the Zerg, I don't think you want that at all. I think you want the Zerg to be, swarming and massive and not necessarily uniform, right? And so I think this is a really cool way to add some diversity to your Zergling. By the way, these are painted really well also, and that's a very cool thing. And it looks like, I'm not sure if they have sculpted bases or if they're like flat bases and they put a little bit of like basing material on there. That's another thing that I'm curious about. Like, are you going to have to base them yourself, or are they going to come, again, this is some interesting stuff, but it looks like, at least from a hobby perspective, you're going to have some options, because it doesn't look like the bases are too busy. If you look at this Hydralisk here, huge, very, very big, right? But with comparison to the other models, it looks like it's got mostly a flat base, so you're going to be able to do seemingly whatever you want with it. And I don't think that they're going to come on the bases. Again, I think this is going to be like a standard miniatures game. Again, you're going to be building your miniatures. If you're, a player of Star Wars Legion or Warhammer or any of the stuff, I'm sure this is going to be no surprise to you, especially since Starcraft and Warhammer have so many similarities already. What's one more, right? They're finally coming to tabletop. But yeah, so the Hydralisk here looks very, very big. It's got that much longer base. It looks awesome. It looks really awesome. And it also, it looks like, considering what we're seeing in this image, it looks like there may be multiple Hydralisk sculpts as well. I'm not 100% sure on that, because if we go back to this one here, this guy could have been maybe a separate, I don't know if they took a completely standard Hydralisk on that one or not, but this is why I'm like, maybe there'll be multiple Hydralisk sculpts. I'm not sure, I'm not sure if that's really necessary, but either way, it looks awesome. I'm happy to have it, and it looks very, very cool. Also want to talk about this little thing right here. Now, there's a couple of these. Now, I'm curious. I believe what we're looking at here, because I had to zoom in kind of far to get some of these. I believe you're looking at burrowed units. It looks like there's a way to have your Zerglings burrow, and boom. And I'm curious what kind of gameplay effect that'll have. If it's, I would imagine, because after talking with the folks at Archon, they're very big Starcraft fans. This was a dream project for them, right? The name of their studio was inspired by the Archon, the Protoss. So, definitely, going to try and do the game justice. And burrowing is absolutely a thing. I'm curious if you're going to heal while you're burrowed. I'm curious if you can be attacked while you're burrowed, or you need a detector. Like, how video game accurate is it? Because sometimes some things have to lose a little bit of the lore in order to make the game work. But it is really cool to see that they have. I don't think this is like a lurker or anything else. I think this is a Zergling that is just burrowed. But I could be wrong. It could be a lurker. Maybe they're doing different stuff like that, which would be cool. I think if they were trying to showcase something like a lurker, though, there would be spikes that would be coming up too, from the ground, something like that. Maybe not. I'm not sure, but either way, the whole burrowing, the fact that they've got that in, and that like that's a really cool, like as a placeholder token, perhaps, to say, oh yeah, he's burrowed. And this one definitely does. I would imagine something like this might be a single piece, because I don't think you need to like glue all those parts together. It's really there just to let you know that the mob is burrowed. I'm guessing. Again, this is all speculation. Let me know what you think and how you think burrowing may work in the game like this down in the comments section below. There's one other thing I want to talk about. There's a couple of these things. Now, they don't look like they're on bases, so they don't look like they're units. To me, this could just be terrain. It could just be some scatter terrain that's out there, which is possible, but I don't think so. I think this is meant to indicate creep, right? It looks like it could be creep. And you got to think, well, how could you do creep? if you're not familiar with StarCraft, or if you're not sure exactly what creep is, right? Zerg structures generate creep, which is kind of like a corruption, like a sludge that kind of covers the ground, and it's like their sphere of influence. They can heal on creep, they can move faster on creep, and they move slower off of creep. But it grows. Like when you kill a structure, the creep slowly fades back. Think of it as like an infection, like a biological phenomena, right? How do you replicate that in a miniatures game, right? You can't have like lay down a playmat of ever expanding creep. You can't put silly putty on the ground and say the creep is growing, but you could have tokens that say, okay, if you're within 3 inches of the creep, then you can, this is your movement. But once you get outside of 3 inches of the creep, your movement drops to half or something like that. I'm curious how that's going to work. That's how I would imagine, at least in a rough concept, that's how I would imagine that creep would work in a game like this. And again, how very cool that they're using these concepts. One of the things about this is that as a skirmish game, as a miniatures game, it's not going to focus primarily with like SCVs building command centers and barracks, and you're not going to have to like build buildings for 30 minutes before you can actually start producing units and go. You're going to start like with a strike team or a squad or an army and battle. So it won't follow the video game with like frame for frame, but the lore should still be there. So it's very interesting to me to see that they're still taking parts of the game that apply a little bit more to buildings, like potentially creep, and bringing that in. So I think it's a really cool thing. This attention to detail and in all of the stuff that they've just shown in just this one teaser image has me really excited. But I want to hear what you guys think. So that's some stuff from the preview image, but there's a little more. Recently, they also posted that they had gone down to Blizzard HQ and done some playtesting with the folks at Blizzard. Of course, again, you're running with a licensed game. You got to have licensed game approval, right? And it was really cool. So, and the cool thing is, of course, if you like to zoom in, like I like to do, you can get a kind of a close-up view of their playtest. This is actually a look at what the game might look like on your tabletop. Of course, this is a playtest. Now, it doesn't necessarily constitute the exact finished final product that will appear on your tabletop, but this gives you something of an indication. Again, I don't know if they'll have colored plastic in the final product. For people who don't want to paint but want to be able to just kind of like play straight out of the box, I don't know if what they're going to do with all of that. But it does gives you, like, I believe this is a 3x3 mat, so this gives you an idea of like how big a Hydralisk is going to be. Significantly big, but not like exactly monstrous. Like I think they said the Ultralisk is currently like the biggest thing that they're working on right now. And I expect that to be big, right? I expect an Ultralisk to be probably about as big as these two Hydralisks. As far, I imagine it's going to have a big base, kind of like this. I expect it to be pretty impressive too. But yeah, this is a good enough size that you can get, a specific skirmish. This is basically like when you're playing a game of StarCraft and you do have like a large movement that meets somebody else's large movement in the middle of the map. Boom, that's kind of the battle that you're having here. And that's kind of what it looks like to me. They have terrain out here. It looks like, you've got certain things that look like Vespene geysers. You got some gas in there. I don't think you'd be mining it or harvesting it or anything like that. At least not in a skirmish. But it also looks like you've got cards. Looks like you've got unit cards, possibly upgrade cards or something like that over here. Cards that seem to have art on them and things like that. The cool thing about that is that when cards are usually a good thing because they give you quick reference. So you don't have to pull out a book and start flipping through pages constantly or have your phone open all the time. I love having cards. I love having quick reference to what's going on. Also, cards kind of tell me that this game is probably going to be a little bit more approachable. I don't see a ridiculous amount of tokens on the board. I don't see too much clutter. There's definitely dice. That's fine. I think they're going with D6s for this. So that's going to come very familiar to a lot of game. Everybody's played a game with D6s before, right? So again, D6s are easy. Plus, if you've got lots of D6s, it's easy to, add extra dice or whatever. So, so it looks like they're going with that. And it doesn't look like you need, I think like one standard container of D6s will probably be enough per player. That's what it looks like to me. And again, this is also an image taken from the Starcraft miniatures game social media. You can zoom in and you can get looks like maybe we've got some other things in the background there too. So again, it looks like you're seeing some some Space Marines in gray, some Terrans in gray, and then there's some blue stuff in there too. So maybe some of them were painted, maybe some of them weren't, or maybe they're just printed in different types of plastic. Again, this is just a single frame from a single image of a playtest that had happened, but it is still pretty cool, and it gives you a little bit of an idea of what the game might look like when it's actually being played. Which is a great segue into the last point. If you want to actually see what it looks like for real to play it, they're doing playtests at Essen. Are you going to Essen? Are you going to be at the Spiel, which is like the biggest tabletop or the biggest board game convention in the world? Sadly, I am not. I wish I could say, come join me at Spiel and we'll head over to Hall 1, booth 1C311. And again, it's later this month, right? You've got a couple weeks yet. If you are going to be out there, you won't want to miss this. Apparently, they're doing playtest signups, so you can make sure you get like a reserved time or something like that. So you can look into that a little bit more if you're planning to be out there. Definitely at least head over to the booth. Archon always has a really nice setup with amazing miniatures on display. We talked to them a lot over at Adepticon, and then of course with other interviews for this game, with plenty more coming. And those of you who are fans of like science fiction and stuff, they also have Starside too. They have lots of really cool products that are in the works right now. So a lot of cool stuff to check out, but definitely head over to their booth. If you're going to be in Essen, you won't want to miss it. So I wish I was going to be there, but we'll still keep you posted as new information comes out. Starcraft tabletop miniatures game. I know some people are chomping at the bit for it, and then some people are kind of varied. Let me know your thoughts. Is this a game that you have hype for? What's your level of hype for a Starcraft miniatures game? And my other question for you guys, if we want to take this a little bit further, before I close out the video, is there another Blizzard game that you wouldn't mind seeing come to tabletop? Anybody here play Overwatch or Diablo or World of Warcraft? I'm just curious, what some of you guys think. What is something that you or another IP that you haven't seen? Now, personally, a huge child of the 80s, I would love to see Thundercats get a board game, a miniatures game, something on my tabletop, right? And hopefully not just a card game. So hopefully there's more of that, more 80s resurgence. But Starcraft looking really good. I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait to see what comes next. We'll bring you the latest as it comes out. That's going to do it for today's video. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are amazing and help make this whole channel possible. I will talk to you later. May the force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. So say we all. The spice must flow. My life for hire. And always wash your socks.